Hit one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I'm your host, Mike Larkin, and joining me today is the mom of Steven Spice. I got on Crystal Spice. So nice. Named her twice. The missing member of the Spice Girls. I'll be here all day. How are you, my friend? I know it's been a while.
It has been a while, but I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. First and foremost, you're just going to no-sell me on the fact that I said that you're the lost member of the Spice Girls. You're not even going to tell me to stop right now. Thank you very
Uh,
much. What's up with that?
yeah. Like it's. An original Spice Girls, So, but it's the oldies are the goodies.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, I know how you get a little irked with that sometimes, man. We just
Yeah. I think I've kind of gotten used to it now, kind of a little thing. But it's because they stole my last name. It's fine. They made a lot of profit. Still need to talk to them about that because I'll still always be the original Baby Spice.
You just want to take your time capsule in your DeLorean and go back to 97 and whoop some ass on that bus in Spice World. I know you.
Hell yes, I do. You know how much torment I had through high school, like in the sense of being called Spice Girl. Oh, do you actually know Spice Girls? No, I am a Spice Girl. Don't know them, but I am one.
So you've been spicing up your life since day one, is what you're saying.
Oh, geez, are we gonna do this again?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I have, and it'll be a long time coming. Though I
Okay.
still can't tell you what I really, really want.
Alrighty. Well, you know what I could tell you? Just say you'll be there and we'll be good. That's what I'll say to that, you know?
Okay,
Huh?
stop right now. Thank you very much.
Goodbye, my friend. All right, we're done with this. Okay. So, all right, fellow blockhead. Before we came onto the shizzo, Crystal was telling me about the New Kids on the Block stream and the Instagram lives. Man, I got to say, first and foremost, you send me the photo of Donnie because, of course, you do. No, I'm just
Of
kidding.
course I do.
So, how was the Kids concert? Let everybody know because, as a blockhead, I know you love New Kids on the Block, and I'm going to tell you a funny story in 2 seconds about it. Talk about the stream.
Oh, it was actually really amazing. It was a girl named Lisa. Her name is Mama Donuts on Instagram, and honestly, it's been a tough time period because the blockheads are a huge family in the sense they always support each other. They always try to be there for one another. The crews, the concerts, they often, a lot of them tour together. They'll go to the concerts, they'll meet up beforehand for dinner. I know we do that all the time. It's tradition here in Toronto when we get the concerts. But because of COVID, a lot of the international fans didn't get to be there, and New Kids on the Block didn't stream the concert themselves. So it was kind of sucky that they weren't going to do that, but thankfully some fans did. And you had Belle Biv DeVoe. I know they also did a show in Merriweather which had Salt and Pepper there, and seeing all the old songs. And even what was a cool thing to add to it was D Nice, who did all of Club Quarantine during the entire COVID period, which was basically, if you followed any of it, it was a DJ that literally would come on about, say, 10 o'clock every single night, and he would go all night long for fans and stuff like that. And Donnie Wahlberg would pop in himself, and he would chat with the fans there, and it helped everybody keep going. New Kids on the Block. So in case you didn't see the live stream, they did want to give a little shout out that without bands like, a lot of them, people say, New Kids on the Block was, the original boy band, but they're like, nope, if it wasn't for New Edition and people like Belle Biv DeVoe, they wouldn't have been around. So they said they want, Donnie said, let's set the record straight. So I'm carrying Donnie's word and setting the record straight.
I will
It
say,
was awesome though.
well, first and foremost, that girl was poisoned. If I were you, I'd take precaution. And
Right?
right? And number two, I will say this first and foremost. Well, he's correct. I mean, when you had the late 70s, early 80s with New Edition with your Candy Girls and your Popcorn Love, like, you cannot go wrong with hits like that. And then, of course, the Mr. Telephone Mans and the Whatnot and oh God, Can You Stand the Rain, and then Do It and Poison from Belle Biv DeVoe. Like, I mean, he's correct in his sentiments, but also at the same time, man, New Kids on the Block has, of course, they had a bunch of hits. Chinese Food Makes Me Sick. I got to go there with you, Crystal.
Oh God, yes you do. Yes, you do. You have to go there. But they had a few hits, maybe one or two.
Well, but no, well, here's the thing about that. How crazy is that with LFO, the one and only Light Funky ones, that Brad is the only one that's alive. Devin's passed away, and
No.
Richard.
it's it's incredibly sad. Like that's if any of them had a tragic story, it would be LFO, that's for sure. Losing both of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Like, here's the thing what also popped me because you were talking about boy bands. Like, for Pride Month, they had the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC back sync. You had AJ and Nick. You had friggin' everybody from friggin' Lance and Joey. Like, everybody wants to see, like, a back sync kind of, like, collaboration, if you will. Like, put an album, not just for Pride Month, put out an album, you know?
Oh yeah, no, I know. I've heard that for a while now. They also they want New Kids to tour with New Edition and stuff like that as well. Like there's a lot of people, but back sync because they were the same time period, right? Like they had
Yep.
they were constantly the big competition with each other. Would you have it? Like it's one of those things that they want a lot of people have said they want Backstreet Boys with NSYNC and 98 Degrees because those were the three that were all the same time period.
I will say this right now, and I sent it to you, and I hope you listen to it. 98 Degrees came out with a new single. Where do you want to go? It's good. And it's good. They're just driving down there, and then the speed limit turns to 98 degrees. Crystal, I got to say, they killed it in this single.
Yeah, I think I've heard it, and I do like that these bands are starting to bring out new stuff because it's bringing out a whole new generation of fans. Like I have a baby blockhead that lives with me. That his one dream is to now meet Donnie Wahlberg, or Danny Reagan as he calls him, because he follows Donnie on Blue Bloods. But yeah, it's you bring in a whole new group of fan. You got new baby blockheads and everything, and by them releasing new songs, it creates a whole new generation of fans.
Now, first and foremost, I also will say this about you, and to quote 98 Degrees, fate has a place and time. It's the hardest thing I'll ever have to do, to quote Nick Lachey. Now, I'm going to tell you this story. So when my dad and my mom, they used to work at WBLI Long Island radio station, right? Very popular back in the day. My dad was actually working at the New Kids at the event, at the New Kids on the Block event, because there was a lot of girls that were just rushing the stage, as you know that they do, because it's the New Kids on the Block, duh. So I'm going to say this right now, fate has a place and time. I'm wondering if you took that trip from Canada to New York and you were one of those girls, Miss Crystal Spice. I'm just saying, with someone as much as a blockhead as you are, I would not be surprised if you were one of those girls. Did you start traveling, huh? Did you follow the tour bus, Crystal Spice?
No, I didn't. I actually my first concert I can actually tell you for New Kids concert was actually when they joined back together in 2008. And
okay.
I my husband to it.
So I got to say this to you now because again, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Winter, summer, spring is falling. They're doing the summertime and they're doing the old moves in the video. Hell yeah.
Yes, that's one of my favorite songs. And fun fact, it's actually from a fan here in Ontario, in Scarborough, I believe, sent it to Donnie. And that's why they kicked off their tour here in Toronto, was because it was the fan that sent that to Donnie that started it all over again.
Okay, and one more pop culture reference before we get into the wrestling side of things. Crystal Spice, you always stay the same. There's nothing about you I would change. Joey McIntyre. Yes, I went there. Yes, I went there.
Joey Mac.
Joey. You know what the problem is about that too? Like he had 2 hits, Stay the Same and Cry, and then here's Jordan Knight over here talking about Baby You Know I Could Give It to You. He's on the Ferris wheel. He's at the frigging carnival. Yep. Oh.
Yep, I love that song. But yeah.
Oh, it's a friggin' great song, man. We're taking it back to the 90s, and it still holds up to this day, 22 years later, right?
Oh, and it always will, because when you have people that are, so loyal to the boys, it's a case that they will follow them no matter what they do. You had Joey McIntyre do Waitress on Broadway, and you had New Kids fans showing up there. It's whatever they do, they touch, it's like gold. Because we're loyal fans, as Donnie likes to say.
Baby, to quote Give It to You, man, I had to do that, man. Friggin' Jordan Knight. The whole New Kids on the Block. See, you got me started here, man. We're already 10 minutes into the shizzo, and I already feel good. It's like catching up right here, Crystal, talking about all these boy bands. You got me singing, man.
Exactly. Right. Singing makes you have good feelings. There you go.
True. Right. Okay, so I want to talk to you first and foremost, man. I did watch the episode of The Bump with Steven, and I did see the stuff with Kevin Owens. Loved it, melted my heart. Be yourself. #be yourself. I'm going to put it out there. Really touched me. It really was a lot of positivity, positive reassurance, and assurance. That whole episode was absolutely awesome. Wanted to talk about the bump experience because the kid absolutely killed it.
He really did. And the whole thing with the bump that totally took us by storm, was that he caught the attention of Stephanie herself. Stephanie McMahon retweeted the "Be Yourself," and that is Steven's motto now. Like he has that, he has "Be Yourself" on everything. He says at the end of every video because no one else can be you. Like you know you're your own person, and that's it. And you need to be proud of that. So when he said that and landed himself a few gigs, with talking smack with Kayla Braxton and trying to appear on the KO show, like the kid's got some charisma. He puts it out there, and he's just infectious. He's a pretty special kid, and just when you see him and you talk to him, he has a way about him that you just I want to see more. I want to. What is he going to do next? And the whole experience on the bump. I talked with one of the people that works with the bump not too long ago, and they said Steven will always be a member of the bump family. Like we still talk about that is still one of our favorite episodes of all time. It's been that particular part is still featured on the WWE network and their featured videos. It's still on their YouTube channel as having like over 29,000 views on their YouTube channel. So it's a pretty special moment. And I think with Kevin, he was pretty surprised by how infectious he was too, and Kevin was a sweetheart to deal with both when we interviewed him and on the bump too.
I gotta say, what I've always loved about Mr. KO, Kevin Owens, like that, first and foremost, the character from whether it be Fight Owens Fight or what he's doing now, and just absolutely hitting on all cylinders, which he has in many different organizations, including now in the WWE. That dude is another one like Steven who's just very likable. He's very badass, and that dude is just also very humble. So he's another one that I've always had the utmost sincerity and respect for. And like I said, you and Kevin and Steven really knocked it out of the park. And another thing I will mention too is, like you mentioned, social media, going back to on that front. God dang, man, the positivity side of things, just from Stephanie McMahon to all these superstars, and we'll get into Edge in a second here. But it's amazing just to see the outpour of support and the outpour of love that we see from the young man.
Yeah, no, it's been like truly amazing. Like he's the support, like we're having the support around him means a lot to him. When he knows that he can touch other people's lives and everything like that, it makes him feel that much happier. And it gives him a boost of energy to fight through everything that he goes through. So seeing all the positive, when we started to ask for the interview, like when we put up the thing for Kevin Owens, did we think we were going to get a yes? No. Were we over the moon? We got a yes. You better believe it. Like he was so excited. Oh my gosh, I got to interview my first like real, because he'd interviewed by this point. He'd already interviewed Chris Van Vliet, and he also interviewed, I believe, TJ Wilson by that point too. So he was just so excited to have another big interview, and it was just, it was so cute to see how nervous he was and excited he was at the same time, and the support that he's getting. Just it helps. They did when he had surgery back in April to have his throat reconstructed. Seeing people like Chris Jericho saying keep going, like we make sure we know when you're out of surgery, and Cody Rhodes, and just the whole wrestling community on a whole, doing like the hashtag Steven Strong. And I've got people like T-Bar calling Steven and talking with him on FaceTime. That's now become part of his traditions. Before he goes in for a big visit, as T-Bar calls him and sits with him on FaceTime, and they play games. Who can catch jump over the most hurdles on Facebook Messenger. It's quite hilarious to watch, and it's honestly so heartwarming to see the support that's come around Steven.
Amen to that. And I will say this first and foremost. You want to talk about games? I got to segue with this. I did watch the R-Truth game show, and I got to say, hilarious from start to finish.
Yeah, it was. He was when we were planning out everything. He was hoping that he would get to do it with him. He was hoping he would have to run through the house with the phone, but he couldn't because he didn't want to lose the signal, which we appreciate from R-Truth. And the interview is coming. That was just part of the interview. And Steven's got some other stuff, like he's done the TikTok challenge of with the Amazing Graysons of who is more likely to. and they had to close their eyes and do that with him. So he's got that coming out on his channel. So it was funny to see him actually go along with it. And then he was like, "Oh, it's over." And it was so cute to see. But then Steven's like, "Yeah, I don't know who that person is. I don't know who DJ Khalid is." It was just like, I think that kind of took R-Truth by surprise, and he was laughing at it, which was just made it all that more enjoyable with everything.
That's another thing on the social media front where TikTok is just taking over everything. I mean, WWE's doing now with their ring announcer for SummerSlam right now. Everybody gets to ring announce like The Undertaker, Sasha Banks, and put in that contest. I got to say,
Yeah.
I've seen the little guy do a lot of announcing for the Rated R Superstar Edge and everybody with his intros. So I got to say, if Steven could get in there, I would be totally for the ring announcer.
Oh, he did. We put it up on my TikTok, and Steven shared them on his Twitter. He did everybody but Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks he hasn't done. I know that they're going to be choosing someone soon. But he did Edge, he did Undertaker. Of course, he had Cena. Cena's his boy. Mm-hmm. And then EST, Bianca Belair. He loves Bianca, and he loves her message. To always think you're the greatest, the best, the fastest. It made him really, he likes her mottos and everything.
Well, it's the swag, Crystal. It's the swag, the greatest, the bestest, the fastest. Like, how can you not? It's the EST, B.
Exactly.
Now, I got to ask about Cena here, because how excited is he for the bout with Roman Reigns coming at SummerSlam for the Universal title?
He is incredibly excited. He's logical, though. He's like, Cena's only back for the summer. He's like, so do I think that Cena will win? He's like, he probably will lose. But I'm really hoping he wins. What he would love to see happen is he would love to see, Cena win, and then, Edge face him, and then Edge wins, and then that way both his guys win. But even Liam in my household, who's a Roman fan, like we have Roman Reigns' vest here from that Roman game from Hell in the Cell 2019. Even Liam is like, you know what, Roman's held the title for a long time. So he'd be happy to see John win. And Steven obviously is a John boy through and through. So even though he's logical, he also would love to see John win too.
Now, I'm going to say this right now. I look forward. I'm torn with this because I love Roman's the tribal chief character. But for me, it's like that pop when he came out at Money in the Bank. And here's what's great about it. People talk about him being that polarizing figure, the let's go Cena sucks chance. But the crowd comes unglued when the last time we saw this man was the Firefly Funhouse match with Bray Wyatt. And now he comes back, he throws up the Too Sweet, he runs down to the ring, challenges Roman. They've been having these promo offs, which have been excellent. And I'm like, hell yeah. John Cena, you go, sir.
Well, yeah, especially like with the promo offs. Like honestly, like I can honestly say that my mouth dropped when Roman talked about, John comes out with the same gear, the same song, same this. It's like doing it missionary, and I'm like, this is WWE I'm watching, right? Like I am watching WWE, and am I correct? And then like John says something the week after, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're going there. But it was just, like it's quite comical to watch this whole thing and watch this all unravel, and it's been very entertaining to see, and Steven's been loving it. Seeing John come back, especially because to go from everyone hating John to now, everyone, Roman with his tribal chief and acknowledge me, which by the way, people have been putting on Twitter that Roman needs to acknowledge Steven and come on his show. That's what everyone's been joking. He needs to acknowledge Steven. It's been quite interesting to watch, and it's been enjoyable to watch. It's something new instead of the traditional, usual reverbage that's happened a lot.
Hey, I was right there with you when he said that line, and then Cena comes back with, if you could get someone to do missionary position like that for over 2 decades, can you keep that person in your life? Like, that's just a great comeback. And plus,
oh yeah, totally.
And plus, the last time we really saw him like get that edgy, if you will, I'm talking about Cena, was like when he was like, well, yeah, the Chain Gang, 06, 07.
Edgy.
Oh yeah, okay, we'll go into it now. Edge, I love you. First and foremost, the Edge on Twitter was another one that he was absolutely ready to do it. He got on the show. I was telling you before we came on air, those two bouncing on the seats was absolutely hilarious, and it was an amazing show, an amazing interview, an amazing entrance from Steven to Edge. Like, again, another one that's a favorite. Canadian, another amazing talent, a Hall of Famer. I'm talking about Edge.
Yeah, no. It's been truthfully, it's been honestly, it was crazy because he put the tweet out there. Then all of a sudden, we were looking at his YouTube subscribers going up and up and up, and I'm like, what is happening here? Like, how is this happening? I'm like, I know he had a video go up, but like this is crazy. It's going up by the hundreds. I'm like, how is this happening? And then his video that he posted, it was an unboxing video that we had posted, and it's going up by like hundreds of views. And I'm like, okay, something's going on here. So we were actually getting ready for a taping of a wrestling show here that was by invite only, that Steven was invited to, that he ring announced at. And we're looking, and then we go check his social media and see the Edge said, like, let's set it up. And we're like, okay. And then I checked mine, and Edge sent me a message saying, okay, so when you want to do it, do you want to do it tomorrow? And so the next day we went from Saturday to Sunday filming it, and Steven had such a fun time with Edge. It was hilarious, but he, like, when he interviewed Cody, he ran out of time because he was on with Edge for 2 hours, and laughing and joking and bouncing up and down on the chairs, as you were saying, and just being Steven. And Edge was just totally taken back by his spirit and how infectious he was and everything. And then he said to him that sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. He was just talking with him and answering all the questions. He was just surprised by his intro, surprised by everything that went on. And then when we went and put it on, it was like his first 10,000 viewed video. And then we put part 2 on with the turnbuckle talk. But everyone, I think what's different with Steven is he doesn't just go straight into the wrestling questions. He goes straight into, well, let's get to know you. Like, we know you're a wrestler. We know you're a famous superstar. But hey, why don't you tell me that story of how you met Christian and it was all over a Ninja Star? Like, tell me the funny stories. And he got to finish his questions. He actually filmed another episode with Edge this past weekend, which hasn't been put up yet, but he filmed another episode with Edge, and he also filmed a brief one with Beth Phoenix as well, which we're looking to get the rest of that interview in. But yeah, he filmed with Beth Phoenix as well, which is going to be coming out.
And you see, that's good interviewee 101, because it's like, okay, let's talk about your feud with Christian. Let's talk about team with Christian. Let's talk about, like, your wrestling in school, how you got into it. Like, that's just interviewer 101, because, I mean, it's one of those things from a stance. It's like, yeah, it's cool to talk about the wrestling moments because they're there, and it's like, woo. But at the same time, it's like they're getting that insight and letting that person tell their story. It's an amazing feeling, and he does an amazing job at that, Crystal.
Well, exactly. And it's one thing that he wants to know, because he's like, everyone knows. And I think that's what's so sweet about Steven's interviews, and so why everyone says that they're different. And being interviewed by Steven is something that everybody should do, right? And why Steven gets so excited, because he doesn't just sit there and say, well, how did you feel winning this title? How did you feel doing this? He's like, no, well, what's your favorite thing to eat? Like show that you're actually a person. And I think that's one thing that Steven likes doing, is because they're like me. And he gets so excited if they have like the same. I remember when he interviewed TJ Wilson, a former Tyson Kidd, and he said, yeah, my favorite color is blue. He's like, wow, we have the same scars, your favorite color is the same as mine, and we both love wrestling, we're twins. It was just so cute to see that innocence and that and they're both born in July, like a week apart. It's crazy. Or no, a day apart. He's the 11th and Steven's 10th. So it's crazy. He literally is his birthday twin.
I will say this, and here's something that, you know what it is? He's someone who's so underrated, Tyson Kidd, TJ Wilson. I will say this, from what he's doing from the producer side of things and what he's doing to help the women. Again, it's very reminds me of Fit Finley back in the day, but god dang, man, that dude is doing such amazing work. I mean, from his in-ring work, unfortunately, his career got cut short, but god dang, he's doing a lot of great work behind the scenes.
He is doing phenomenal work behind the scenes. And what what is truly touching from a mom's standpoint is he stayed in contact with Stephen this whole time. Him and Natty have stayed in contact with him this whole time. And like the Natty interview was something that totally blew Stephen away. And he totally was like, oh my gosh, mommy, I get to interview Natty. I'm like, what do you mean? Because he had originally asked Natty, and Natty said, unfortunately, I can't do it. Like with WWE, it's kind of hard because some superstars can, which is why when he gets to interview a superstar, he's like, I can interview you, really? And he gets so excited because, you know, with the bigger stars, it's hard to get them to interview because of contracts and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard with a little guy, especially doing this, because he's like, oh, they said no, they can't. I said, well, we'll try and figure out a way that you can interview, because he's got a long list of people he wants to interview and he wants to have on a show. And you know, Natty, as soon as he was on the bump, is like, so when are you going to interview me? And he was like, I can interview you. And he was like over the moon excited, because he's always loved Natty ever since, like, you know, he met her here in 2019. Like, he's like, Natty's been like his go-to. He made her a picture frame when she came here for SummerSlam. He gave it to her. Like, he loves Natty. Granted, he loves all the Hart. He loves the whole Hart family, but Natty's always held a special spot. And now Tyson Kidd, with everything that he's done with Stephen, and, you know, like checking in on him, they both sent birthday wishes to him. You know, it was really cool because it's on his channel, but TJ, he filmed it down beside the Thunderdome, like when he was down beside the ring at Thunderdome. So he was really excited to see, you know, oh my gosh, like I'm like right there, like I can see the ring right there, I can see like behind the scenes kind of thing. And Steven really liked that. And, you know, the stuff that TJ's done with the women's division is just, honestly, it's phenomenal. And as a mom, the thing that I'm trying to strive for most, because, and this is one thing that I love, when Steven gets passionate, like he did it with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa's match on AEW with the Lights Out match.
Mm-hmm.
When I see the light in his eyes when he sees a woman's match, I love seeing the light in his eyes for wrestling in general. But because of how women's wrestling has gone over the years, with people like, you know, Beth Phoenix paving the way, Natty, you know, all these wrestlers that are paving the way, Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Tessa Blanchard, when she was there in Impact doing like the intergender matches, it changes the way young boys and young girls see wrestling. And when you do that, it means the world to me as a mom, because you're seeing that they're not these divas. They're actually talented athletes that have come up through the ranks, and that, you know, you have people like Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair main eventing at WrestleMania and then winning an FC. Like, honestly, like, it is phenomenal, and it gives women the empowerment to, you know, as they grow up, hey, I can do this too, you know. And it's up here in Canada, we have this thing in Ontario, it's Revolution, right? And it's a new organization that's starting up for all female wrestlers. You have women wrestling shows showing up. You have things like more strategic matches, more tough matches for women, and saying, yeah, you know what, I'm not backing down. And it's so great to see what TJ's done, because it's helped elevate women's wrestling to a whole new level.
Agreed wholeheartedly, and I look at it from a stance too. As a teenager growing up on Long Island, like I used to go to the Ring of Honor shows at Lake Grove, right? So Sports Plus would always have, like, obviously, you know, your Ring of Honor stars at the time were the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, Nigel McGuinness was there, Jay Lethal. It was like star-studded in the mid-2000s, but they would always have like the Shimmer Girls come on, like your Sarah Del Reyes, Sarah Amato, your Daisy Hayes, your Reigns, and it was like, god dang, man. And then you see that promotion shine, and like you mentioned, your promotion over there in Canada, the women's wrestling promotions are just on the come up. There's amazing talent there, and it's just like, it's great to finally see the pun intended shine and the pun intended focus that they need to showcase with women's wrestling.
Oh, exactly. It's and honestly, it's it's very inspiring to young girls are seeing, because we have like a little girl up here. She does YouTube with her dad. She's known as the mini host on Straight Talk Wrestling, and she's a young wrestling fan. And to see a girl that's this young and be this impassioned and engulfed in the world of wrestling, it makes me extremely happy to see, because these are like kids seeing this kind of stuff. They're the future. We don't want everything to go backwards. We want everything to go forward. So seeing women do the hardcore matches, seeing, when Beth Phoenix entered the men's Royal Rumble, it's all about these trailblazing moments that are like, hey, look at me. We can do this too.
I also look at it from a stance too, and I got to say this in regards to women's wrestling, like you were talking about Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, and I'll say this about Natty. From AEW to WWE, the one thing I will say about that is, first and foremost, the emotion of those two, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. With Natty, I will say this: I loved the emotion when her and Tamina finally won the tag titles from Shayna and Nia. Amazing.
That moment was true. Like, it was a truly special moment. And like when Natty stood on the side of that ring and she pointed to the heavens, it's like, that's a very iconic moment.
Agreed wholeheartedly, and rest in peace to the one and only Mr. Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Now, another thing I will say, since your son there, Mr. Steven, likes the Hart family, I got to ask you one thing in particular. Hart Dynasty reunion, kind of, sort of, man. We got David Hart Smith back in the WWE. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It is pretty cool to see like that him come back. It's Steven's excited to see where they go with that.
That's the thing about him too. Like when he was with Tyson and when he was with Lance Archer, Lance Hoyt, when he was with part of the Killer Elite Squad in Japan, like that dude, like the potential that was there with him in the WWE. And I know he's back there now, but God dang, man, you have NXT, you have NXT UK, you have the main roster. You could put him with like Cesaro or someone in a tag team or just single. Like the dude has it, and he has the body, has that mindset. Of course, he's the son of the British Bulldog, for God's sake. But just to see it all come full circle, that's amazing to see in the year 2021.
Oh, it is amazing to see, and it's funny you mentioned with Cesaro, because they all have that connection together. So that would be interesting to see that happen together, just because of all the connections. But they have the WWE has so many factions, and that Steven loves the fact that on a different note, his boy Cross is there now and everything. So it's just it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays out, and I'm happy to see that he's back, but I want to see where they're going to go with it too.
Well, first and foremost, I will say this, just going back to Tyson for a second, because you brought this up. So you're gonna say this to me. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, probably one of the most underrated tag team champions ever. They don't get the respect that they get as much as when they were the tag teams. Oh,
totally. I totally agree with you. And actually, there's a part of the Tyson's interview that Steven did with him. He brings up he talks about them, and he talks about the moment that he's about being like tag teams and stuff like that. And he talks about it. I believe he was there's an episode from Divas, I believe it was, when Cesaro was over at his house. And he was given a pocket knife from Dusty Rhodes. And he still has it to this day and everything.
First and foremost, I got to say, get you a friendship like Tyson Kidd and Cesaro from that Total Divas episode. I know exactly where you're going from that, because that was right after Dusty passed. Yes. Rest his soul. Oh, yes. That stuff just warms your heart. And another thing I will say in regards to you, because we're talking about Tyson Kidd, we're talking about Cesaro, with Edge, going back to him for a second, because again, we're shooting the breeze, we're having a fun conversation. But Miss Crystal, how excited is he for Edge and Seth Rollins? The build has been going very, very well. I look forward to seeing that blow off at SummerSlam. I mean, the continuity with 2014, he was going to stomp him with the curb, and then boom, here we are 7 years later.
Oh, Steven's very excited now. He has been given the opportunity to talk to Seth before, but not an interview concept. But he Edge, he's going Edge all the way. 100 and 150%. It's on like Donkey Kong kind of thing, and he's going to teach him a very valuable lesson, how things come full circle, and Edge is just going to put him in his place.
I like your style there, whether it's on like Donkey Kong, on like a pot of neck bones to the break of dawn. You know what's up, Crystal Spice. I see you there with your little isms there. I like your style, Miss Crystal Spice. Well, another thing I'll add to that. What about the drip, man? We got John Morrison over here with the Johnny Drip, America's Most Wanted, and now Seth's got the drip with those suits. What's the dealio with that? Good Lord! I mean, you've been seeing him too.
Yeah, the suits. Yeah, yeah. That's on a different level, a whole other level. And I guarantee you, if Seth ever comes on Steven's show, I guarantee you, Steven will probably ask him about the suits. He will probably ask him. He granted though, Seth Rollins' figure of the SummerSlam line is the main one that Steven wants, because that Rey Mysterio outfit that he's dressed in is actually Rey Mysterio's very favorite outfit he's ever worn in the WWE, because Steven asked him that at SummerSlam in 2019. Yeah, Johnny Drip Drip, that name isn't really talked about in this household. It's something that Steven can't stand. In all honesty, he's no. Sorry. I can't even put into words how Steven feels about Johnny Drip Drip. But let me say he does like it when Damian Priest comes out and whoops their butts. So he does like that part of the matches.
Well,
or when Miz tried to accept the bumpy for Bad Bunny, and Damian Priest came back and put him in his place. Steven liked that. Steven liked Miz's going on a little bit of a ride along. But yeah, no, the drip. He says no. The 80s called, needs their hair back.
Okay, nice. All right. Well, okay, as someone who has seen John Morrison since the Tough Enough days, and first and foremost, the man has always been in fantastic shape. But the fact that we're going the drip route, and I mean, I know there's the infamous Ric Flair drip rap song, but I'm just like, okay, we're going down that route right now. But the Miz always entertains. Exactly, but it's just like Johnny Drip Drip, okay, because he was the Shaman of Sexy, the Palace of Wisdom, and that whole thing. And I'm like, now we're getting into the drip drip side of things. I mean, it's 2021, it's popular, but I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, it's one of those ideas that should be put back into the idea jar and not resurfaced.
Put it in the idea jar. This analogies, I love it. Okay, so drip drip
on it, stuff it to the very bottom.
Yeah. Right? So drip drip and moistness aside, let's go back to, oh my goodness, when it comes to SummerSlam as well. SummerSlam is going to be off the chain. We got Drew McIntyre, Jinder Mahal looks to be in the workings there. We got Goldberg coming back, taking on Bobby Lashley. How excited are you guys for SummerSlam, man? Because we're also going to see Bianca and Sasha. We have a stacked card coming up.
It's a huge stacked card. So I know I'd be interested to see, because someone actually asked Drew on the bump the other day, what would be your dream match or everything, and he said, like, with regards to this whole storyline, and he said he would actually like a modified Punjabi prison match. That's what he would like to see. So Steven's interested to see if that happens. We're all interested. As for the Goldberg versus Lashley match, Steven thinks that it'll be a case that Big E comes to cash in, so he's going to be interested to see that. But he's not a big Goldberg fan with everything. So that's actually what he likes to call him. But I think like I said, the biggest one he's looking forward to is obviously Edge and Rollins and Cena and Reigns. Bianca and Sasha, he loves both of them. They both have very inspiring stories that he follows, and both are two very powerful women that he would like to eventually speak to down the line if he ever can.
I would just like to say he gets more brownie points than me with that Goldberg line. I love it because it's the common thing, but it's so true. And here's the thing: as someone who was a Goldberg fan from WCW, and then when he came into WWE in 03, and he's going against like The Rock and of course the infamous Brock Lesnar match, and then when he comes back in 2016, I will say one thing though about that whole thing: that kid had a growth spurt. My goodness gracious, I cannot believe that's already been 5 years.
I know that's crazy. I'm like, there's no way. And then we looked it up. We're like, yep, that's true.
That kid is 15 now. He's playing baseball and he looks great.
I know, exactly.
That's the only positive I got out of that thing. Was I'm like, God dang, look at this kid. That was the only positive. Oh. All right, I'm just going to say this right now because we talked about it on Max Wrestling. I'm going to ask you because as someone who also, we're talking about the Oldberg front, did that spear look in slow motion on MVP or was it just me? That was a slow motion ass spear when he took that spear.
It was a slow motion thing, but I think that honestly was Steven's favorite thing to see.
Okay, true. All right.
See, well, because he's still very bitter towards the whole Hell in a Cell thing and MVP coming in. Like Steven's still a little bitter towards that. But so he quite enjoyed that moment with those two. He did.
The Big E analogy is great too because getting the revenge from Kofi getting mollywopped by Bobby at the last pay-per-view. So yeah, I like his thinking.
Yeah, he's really thinking that that's what's going to happen. The Big E's going to come out and cash in.
You were talking about powerful women, and I love me some Bianca and I love me some Sasha. But what do you think about the direction we're going with now? Nikki Cross, now Nikki Ash as the Raw Women's Champion, the almost a superhero. What do you think about how they're interpreting that on television?
Well, Nikki, like this persona, actually having met Nikki in person, we met her at SummerSlam in 2019 here, and seeing her persona, her actual persona outside of the ring, it's very suiting for her. And I like the persona. Like I know people are like, oh, what are we getting with this? But if you think about it, her persona of the almost superhero, it gives a lot of hope. And I love the way that she goes into the crowd, she talks to the crowd, she talks to all the kids, and for kids growing up, those moments mean so much to them. And it's almost superhero. So, I'm not totally superhero, but I can be. I can be a superhero, but I'm not yet. And it's just the persona. I love it. Personally, I love that whole aspect. And it's like, well, I'm not going to be beaten down. Like, yeah, Charlotte Flair, you can stomp on me, you can do what you want, but I'm not going to be. You are not going to do this to me because I'm almost a superhero. And yes, you may think I'm small, but I'm not that small because I'm almost a superhero. It's all about the belief, and it goes back to what Steve Noah says about be yourself, and it's that kind of stuff.
I think it's one of those things too, and you said it so beautifully there, and I'll reiterate that, Crystal. It's one of those things where, like, compare like when The Rock came in '96, right? He was Rocky Maivia, he was chipper, he was smiling, he had the streamers and everything on him, right? And everybody was like so against that. Now there's mixed reactions with it, like you were talking about, but I'm like, I could get behind this because this is Nikki Cross, and it's also, it's feel good, it's very vibrant. See, she's smiling and she's being that inspiration, and I love that. And I think for her, like, it's well deserved because everything that she's gone from Sanity to working with Alexa Bliss, and now we're here. It's all full circle again, like we reiterated before.
Yeah, exactly. It's come full circle, and honestly, having met her, it's the storyline, the persona, it totally suits her.
Now I mentioned Alexa Bliss there. What do you think about the 180 that we're doing with Alexa Bliss now as the evil is mine and everything that we had from the hypnotizing and the powers, and now she's feuding with Eva Marie and the former Piper Niven Dewdrop, which I still have to get accustomed to saying. So what do you think about what we're going in that direction with Alexa?
Well, Steven loves he always loved the Fiend. The mind control aspect of Alexa Bliss's character, he's not really feeling. He hates Lily, although Lily, please don't come after Steven. He really hates Lily. She creeps him out. The whole storyline with that, he doesn't like Eva Marie. So he's with how that's going. Because he would love for her to be squashed by Lily. And Dewdrop, he thinks we actually all think that she's gonna make a flip sooner rather than later against Eva Marie.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And I will say for that girl, Piper Niven, seen her on NXT UK, now on the main roster. I got to say, for her size, her stature, that is an amazing athlete from top to bottom. Like, she is very impressive. And for those who have not seen her work on NXT UK, definitely check it out in the Mae Young Classic. But I'm very happy for that girl as well, a fellow Scottish woman.
I'm very happy for her, and I'm very happy for her because she's not traditional. You have all these you have and Eva Marie and her are complete opposites in body size and stature, in persona. You can see her sweetness come through, even though she's like, okay, she's like, she knows it's wrong with regards to what Eva Marie is doing in some senses. So that's why I think it's going to be a flip. But I honestly, when I see women that are not your typical in wrestling, that are not your typical bombshell looking person, then it makes me happy, because all the little girls that watch, they don't feel typecasted that they have to look a certain way in order to be successful.
Agreed wholeheartedly, and I also look at it from a stance too. We're talking about main roster call-ups. Now, you did mention his boy Cross. I'm talking TikTok, not the social media platform. I'm talking
Exactly.
about. Yep, I'm talking about Karrion Kross, current NXT champion. He's got a bout coming up with Samoa Joe at Takeover. The main roster talk has been very meh because of how he debuted on the main roster against Jeff Hardy, and now the matches that we saw with Keith Lee. What do you think about what we're doing with Karrion Kross?
Steven would like them to do more with Karrion Kross. He's like, there's no way that this would actually logistically happen.
Mhm.
Not with Kross. The Jeff Hardy thing, he said there's no way that would definitely happen at all. So he wasn't very happy about that. He does want to see him on the main roster, but he also doesn't want to see him be washed out with regards to the main roster.
Understood wholeheartedly, and I will say this: as far as the Jeff Hardy stuff, I know a lot of people will say it, but as a Jeff Hardy fan, I'm gonna say right now, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. Hearing No More Words was just amazing, because I know he's been wanting that theme back. That was a good plus, though, to hear the No More Words theme again.
Oh yeah, no, that was a plus, but it's just, it's one of those things that Steven is like, no, this doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for me. No, he's like, he'll come back, and then Karrion Kross will make him pay. That's it, and that's what's going to happen.
What does he think about the Samoa Joe storyline coming up? Like I mentioned, the NXT title will be on the line very soon at Takeover.
He, in all honesty, he's not very happy about it, because, and it's not even just a happy about who it is. It's more so a factor of, he knows Samoa Joe is in a position, and this is one thing he expressed in his interview with Edge. When you have people that have been through a lot of injuries in wrestling, the fact of, having them come about and put themselves in a situation that could potentially be dangerous. Like he's been told, with Samoa Joe, he's been told, another concussion can be detrimental to him. And Stevens, although he loves having the wrestlers come in, he also feels for them. He doesn't want to see them get hurt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's the thing, too. I also look at it from a stance, too, like, again, with the injuries and the risk and the reward that we've seen in professional wrestling, I got to say, this generation, this crop of talents, I got to say, they go, to put it bluntly, balls to the wall. And I think the amazing amount of talent and amazing amount of craft that we see on the professional wrestling side of things, it's a great time to be a professional wrestling fan.
Oh, it really is. And it's one of those times that, it's just going to get better and better.
Now, to flip the script here and go off of WWE auspices, let's talk about AEW, because Cody Rhodes, he had an amazing interview with Cody Rhodes. We were talking about him just pounding on the chest and just the infectiousness of Cody Rhodes. I did see the photo on Twitter. Aleister Black, now Malachi Black on AEW television, beating Cody Rhodes. Cody gonna retire. That face of young Steven there, I got to say, that face tells a story right there, Crystal.
Yeah, that's, Cody has struck a very special chord, much like Edge did with Steven, and TJ did. He's Steven got to see like the very fun side of Cody, and I think one of the things that made him so excited with Cody is Cody actually said, "I don't do interviews anymore. Like I just don't."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but as soon as Steven had asked, Cody's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So when he, Cody sent him a box of stuff, with like shirts and, figurines and stuff like that. And Steven takes that TNT Cody like everywhere now. And he doesn't know it, but we have here, it just came in today, the LJN Cody. So he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be getting that this weekend. So it nearly broke his heart. Like I saw you can see in the one corner of his eye, you could see like there's like moistness there on the one side of the corner, because he was going to cry if Cody was going to retire. He's like, he can't retire. And then to see Malachi Black go and do that, he's like, no, now Cody's going to come back and whoop his butt. So not what he said, but for podcast because I'll use that word. He's
I,
gonna whoop his butt.
I know where you're going with on that, so it's all good. But no,
And that's the thing. Cause that's the thing because he loves like he actually Malachi Black is like Steven loves him, but yeah, no, Cody's just that much higher, and he's like, no, you just don't do that.
I have always been that way with Cody Rhodes too, because when it comes to Cody Rhodes, whether he's a babyface, whether he's a heel, whether he's with his brother, whether he's not with his brother, that dude is so underrated and he's so good and he's just been killing. He's a workhorse for a reason. So I absolutely 100% agree with him on those sentiments.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Like he's definitely for sure a workhorse, and he for sure it was a very inspiring interview to see him talking with Steven. And how many people he's put over himself as a wrestler. It's pretty great to see someone that does all that.
Man, what do you think about the Impact tie-ins that we've seen with AEW and Impact Wrestling? I mean, we've seen Frankie Kazarian go back over there. We have the Dark Order against Gallows and Anderson, of course, Kenny Omega. Isn't it cool to see some of the Impact stars kind of intertwining and mingling, if you will, with the Impact roster and AEW combined?
It is pretty cool to see. I will say that Steven will be very happy whoever can strip Kenny Omega of his titles. He's not liking Kenny Omega's character at all. He definitely does not like his new look. And seeing the crossovers, I like seeing the crossovers, and the reason I like seeing the crossovers with the different companies is simple because it's a case that they're showing what was shown a few years ago with doing all the companies coming together. It kind of just shows that we're a community. We're better together than we are apart. And like with all the things you've seen happening with the WWE, with all the people they're letting go, which they let go of more people today, it's one of those things that seeing the companies work together, it just makes their fan base that much stronger, and they're getting so Impact fans are now going to turn into AEW. AEW fans are tuning into Impact because that way they can see what's going on, the storylines unfolding, everything. Keeping Don Callis around with Kenny Omega and stuff like that. It's it's all great play to keep the fans and grow the fan base.
On the female side of things, because you did also bring up the releases today. One in particular I have to mention because I'm going to get into women's wrestling again here. How in the worldwide world of sports do you release Mercedes Martinez? I still am baffled by that, Crystal.
I think a lot of us are baffled by a lot of releases.
Yep. I know. I had to just bring that because for me, like, she was in the storyline with Xia Li. She's been hitting on all cylinders. They got her away from Retribution, thank God. And I'm like, this girl fought for 20 plus years to get on the dang roster and to work there. Now, boom, gone. Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed will be here all day. But that one stuck out to me because of how long she was on the independent circuit,
Oh, no, exactly. It's one of those things that someone who works so hard and then to just be released like that, it's not cool. It's one of those things, but it's constant. You have that, like you have they just signed Alex Zane
back
in like January, and Steven saw him fight in the here at Destiny Wrestling, I believe it was, against Aiden Prince. And flippy shit every which way, tables, chairs, like it didn't matter, like it was every Steven's favorite things all in one. But it's just when you have people that work like that to get in there and then just release them, it's there's been a lot of question marks that has come about.
And the thing too with Bronson Reed, you had a guy who was the North American champion and now he's just gone. You had a guy like Bobby Fish, Undisputed Era, break him and Kyle up.
Well, see, that's the thing. The Undisputed Era, I said this to Tony when I was talking with him earlier. I said that is probably because Baby's contract is done. It was extended to SummerSlam, but it's done, and there's been no knowledge of if he's signing again. You had Undisputed Era split up, so it's not really that far-fetched to me. But it's upsetting, but it's not that far-fetched to me. In all honesty, it's not that far fetched as to put someone like Bray Wyatt.
Great.
It's not that far fetched. Like when you see someone like Bray Wyatt get released, okay, wait, what? And then you have, someone who their storyline's broken up. They're, the person who's, you have Aleister Black that got let go. Like it's just it's certain things are like you kind of are turning your head like, okay, wait, you're turning and scratching your head saying, wait, what just happened? I'm a little confused. So like Bray Wyatt just totally threw us all for a loop. Like we were just like, wait, what? Made our head spin and hurt.
The storyline, I will say, with Bray Wyatt. See, now you're opening Pandora's box, so we're gonna go here. So I was always a fan of, even when he was Husky Harris. Like I did watch that season of NXT when he was being mentored and that whole nine there. God dang, he reinvents himself with the Bray Wyatt character in 2013 to where we are now. And this whole Firefly Funhouse, the Fiend, who was Bray Wyatt's in the Funhouse, they added Alexa Bliss, and I'm like, okay, the one way you have to finish this off is have him absolutely obliterate Randy Orton at WrestleMania, because it'll all come full circle, like we mentioned, because of their bout at WrestleMania years prior before that. And I'm like, she took his powers, and that's it. And then freaking it went nowhere. And I'm like, okay,
went nowhere. It's done. Like he was such a visionary there, and like with his character and everything like that. And the Fiend was like, kids everywhere, like, loved the Fiend. Like, it's a thing that every kid wanted for their birthday when the figure came out. It was crazy. And then you go and it's done. What do you mean it's done? I talk about unresolved issues.
Mm-hmm.
I could see myself lying on my therapist couch in 10 years describing this exact situation.
That analogy. Oh my God. Okay. So the only negative I will say, and the whole thing's negative, but the negative that I'm referring to as far as the connotation is Alexa Bliss had to make her Twitter private. And I'm like, people, don't go after Alexa Bliss. It's not her fault that he got released and they were blaming her. You took the character. And I'm like, the poor girl got hassled over that. And she's like, I loved working with him. You know what I'm saying? The fans, man, just went after her for no reason.
The fans went after her for no reason. And in all honesty, like, the girl has had such a tough year already, like with Blair Steve passing away. And then, then you have like everything. She said working with him was the most enjoyable time that she's had at the WWE. So the fact that they're going after the fans, like, okay, I love that people are so invested. Steven is incredibly invested, but at the end of the day, he understands that they're people. They go home and they eat a cheeseburger, or they hang out with friends, or they go and play with their dogs or whatever. Like they're still people. And I think that's where, they don't go home dressed up and play with Lily. Like they go home and they spend time with their family. Like this is something that, wrestling fans is great. I think that's why people are like, oh, well, this person was so rude to me. Well, yeah, if you're cornering them at an airport when they're in the middle of trying to get to a flight, yeah, I can understand them being rude to you. Or, they're out to dinner with their family and coming up and say, hey, can you come take a picture with me? Like, I get it. But, so the fact that she had to make her Twitter private, like that's, it's sad. I'm sorry, it's sad. And it's not sad on her part. It's sad that the fans made her feel that way.
It was the same thing with Naomi when Jimmy got released. I'm like, it's not his fault. That's not her fault that, he got a DUI. Like, stop it. What are you doing?
Oh, exactly. It's not her fault. She didn't put the keys in his hand and turn on the ignition. No, that was his choice.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man.
Exactly. Ugh. People, man. And first and foremost, you want to talk about this, my fellow pop culture nerd. You kind of just best described the Eminem music video the way I am. He's trying to go in the bathroom. There's the kid and his brother trying to get an autograph for him. The whole circle of WWE fans is the exact equivalent to the Eminem's The Way I Am video. If I wasn't, then why would I say I am? You know the rest, Crystal. You know the rest.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's it's one of those things that you just have to. People just have to. As Steven told Dolph Ziggler, they need to relax.
First and foremost, I'm glad you brought up Dolph. Another great interview, another amazing time. But god dang, man, you want to talk about another one that has been through it for over the years. He is the only remaining Spirit Squad member in the WWE that is left. He started as a caddy. He's a male cheerleader. Then he's the Dolph Ziggler character. That dude has been through a lot, and he's still here kicking butt, doing his thing with Bobby Roode, Robert Roode. I love it. The dude is another one who just always stays on the grind. And his brother's in AEW now, but god dang, man, he's always on there.
Yes, as Steven calls him and told Dolph this, he's the Dolph wannabe.
Okay.
Steven actually told him before he knew that it was his brother. When Steven was watching AEW, before he actually knew that it was Ryan, he said, "Oh my God, this guy wants to be like Dolph. I'm calling him Dolph wannabe. That's it." And he actually told Dolph, and Dolph's like, "You know what? I'm going to use that. I'm actually going to call him that now."
Okay. First and foremost, this is a similar story. So my dad was watching it. Now, he didn't know, like, obviously, he was Briley Pierce on the WWE and NXT, like the early days before NXT became really big as it is now, right? So I remember seeing him there. He was an interviewer, and then he wrestled like a couple of matches. And now you see him with the blonde hair, and he does look like his brother. And my dad goes, he's trying to be his brother. And I'm like, well, he is his brother because, you know, how the way, the appearance, if you will. So I had that similar story with him. So my dad was like, yeah, he's trying to be his brother. So yeah, similar story, but I got to say, it is very funny thinking about it now, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, he's another one that's also very good. I'm glad to see him getting his just due on AEW. You know what I'm saying? He's another one that has a lot of potential.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing that you know we like seeing, like with the potential of being, you know, taken out. Like you have, like we were watching AEW this week, and you have on a different note, you had Daniel Garcia come out, Red Death, and I'm sorry if that doesn't scream to you as inspiring story, then I don't know what will. Like I don't know, for people who don't know the whole story with the Buffalo Brothers, this man was never supposed to wrestle again. He was not supposed to wrestle again. And here he is living his dream, being on AEW wrestling. Like he was in such a horrific car accident, and the doctors told him that he probably wouldn't wrestle again. And you know, here he is on your TV.
For those who have not seen it, and absolutely what you just said there, Crystal, it's an amazing story, and he's actually a very talented individual. Now, I have to ask you on the flip side of things on that, as a Canadian, 2.0, the former Everrise being by his side in AEW, what do you think about seeing Everrise there?
I'm interested to see where it goes.
Okay.
That's I'm interested to see how that plays out. It's you know, it's one of those things. It's undetermined yet.
I'm just saying, man. I first and foremost, I love you. You know, you're my friend, and you got a fellow Canadian. So I'm just saying, man. Everrise, man. Matt Martell, Chase Parker, they're coming in hot. They're coming hot 2.0, baby.
There's no other way to come in. When you're Canadian, you got to come in that way. You got to come in strong, because otherwise there's going to be, you know, you're going to get a lot of flack, because that's one thing we have touched on. We touched on with a few people that we've interviewed, that it's a case that, you know, Canadians have it that much harder to get noticed. You know, as Kenny Omega said, he's like, you know, it's all about the drive. You know, Canadians have it because we don't have places like WWE or AEW up here in Canada. We don't have that. We don't have big organizations, so you have to work 10 times as hard to get noticed.
I'm actually glad that you said that, because I listened to Talk Is Jericho, the latest Jericho podcast with the former Singh brothers, the Bollywood boys. Exact same thing. They talk about the travel, the grind. I mean, them coming from Vancouver, and just, you know, the father being an immigrant and getting to WWE and living their dream. And unfortunately, they're released. All they said to Jericho was like, I kept grinding. You know, they called me, released, we went back to the gym. You love that. You love to hear stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like one door closes, another one will open.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta work hard. You gotta make sure that you want it.
And the thing with Chris too is, like, they're having him go against Juventud Guerrera. They had him go against Nick Gage, and they're doing the storyline with MJF. I got to say, first and foremost, yes, yes, the Jericho entire thing with MJF. I swear to God, man, still it makes me laugh. Makes me laugh so much. I love the labors that he's going through. You know.
Oh yeah, love the labors. We do think that Nick Gage probably should have been left to last. Like, because it was such a unique fight. I'll give it at that. With pizza cutters. Yeah. But Steven's not a fan of the Chihuahua. He really hopes that Chris Jericho whoops his ass. Sorry, I did say it. Apologize. But yeah, no, he needs the Chihuahua to go away. He's very, very excited when the Chihuahua gets his butt whooped, as Steven calls him.
The Chihuahua.
Oh yeah, he says that goes Chihuahua. Like he's like, yeah. Yep, that's exactly it. And I know MJF stays in character if he ever talks to him and everything like that. And Steven will have no problem getting right in his face. That's just the way Steven is.
First of all, I love that. And I could say, as a fellow Long Island New Yorker, yes, I put it like that, a fellow Long Island New Yorker, as someone who's seen him at indie shows, dead ass, that is him. If people have not seen him in person, that is him 100%. And first of all, I love that because it's old school. And number two, for such a young cat that he has so much potential, and the sky's the limit.
Oh, totally. He's, when you have someone that can, I know he's in a war right now for the biggest heel. And it's a case that, he's, if you can stay in character like that, and it's huge for who you are. But, I have a little boy that has no problem putting wrestlers in their place at all.
Well, that kid, you know what it is? I'm going to say this to you. I've never said this to a lot of people, but you know what Steven has? He has a lot of chutzpah, and I love the chutzpah.
Oh, yes, totally does. And that's one thing that people say, like, they're like, we miss hearing Steven chirp at shows because he doesn't care who you are. He took on Ricky Shane Page, like, at an event.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care who you are or how big you are. He'll get in your face and he'll tell you, you're telling him that he's supposed to think one way, and he'll tell you the opposite. He doesn't care.
See, I gotta say, whether he would, again, your son would be an amazing manager. He's just amazing at what he does. Again, when you have the gift of gab at such a young age and such a bright spirit that he does, again, warms your heart. But it's just like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of proceeding with caution, but I'm interested to see where this goes. He's got that.
Oh yeah, he totally does, and he has that that no fear. He's he does this. He has this whole thing behind him that he's like, I don't care how big you are, I'm going to put you in your place, and that's it. And you're going to listen, and you're going to take it. That's it. And he's done it at shows. And he actually there's a wrestler up here, Amy Crimson, and she has always been the good guy. But in the storyline at this organization, she had to play heel. She'd never played a heel before. And Steven, she came up to him and she thanked him afterwards because of the fact that how much he despised her, that he was chirping at her left, right, and center. And she thanked him afterwards. She's like, you helped me stay in character because I disliked you so much during that match. And he's doing his job. Like Ricky Shane Page, at one point, he started the crowd screaming, jackass, jackass, like at a match against Cross. And Ricky Shane Page called him. He's like, you're that little twerp on Twitter. He's doing his job right. Like Steven's like, yeah, I think you'd be great as a manager. I really do.
But you see, that's the beauty of also the fan interaction, because we're in a day and age now where I'm going to put it to you like this, and I'm sure you've seen it. A lot of people can see it. It's like the day and age of the cool heels. You're not supposed to cheer the heel. You're supposed to boo them viciously. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be that cool heel now.
Oh yeah, everybody wants to do. Everyone wants people to wants to be acknowledged.
Exactly. And I'm just like old school, man. So that's what I'm saying. That's what I appreciate you about your young in there. He's very old school, and I like that. I like that very much, and I know a lot of people do as well. Now, another thing I got to mention here is because we mentioned women's wrestling. A very key event is coming up with women's wrestling. I'm talking about NWA Empower. Mickie James doing the damn thing. Very exciting. They just announced it's going to be Deonna Purrazzo defending that Knockouts Championship against Miss Melina Perez. How excited are you guys for Empower? All women's pay-per-view. Mickie James, Hardcore Country.
Oh, of course we're excited about that. Anytime there's an all women's thing, it's very exciting in this household, especially for me as a wrestling mom.
Now, I'm going to say, what a great way to start it off, because having Deonna compete, and again, like we've seen her, interact with Taylor Wilde on Impact Television. She's had amazing matches. She just came off the match with Thunder Rosa. And a vet like Melina has been doing it since the early 2000s, around 05, 06. You know what I'm saying? Being the WWE developmental system, women's champ, Divas champ will be here all day with her accolades. But god dang, man, her and Deonna are going to tear it down.
Oh, they're gonna tear the roof off the place. Like there's no question about it.
I'm going to say this right now, watching the Impact product, and we were talking about this on Max. Is there anyone who's going to dethrone Deanna of that title? Because I don't even know who you can have go against next, man. I mean, you could go back to the Su Young stuff, but man, she's been going through everybody.
I think it's gonna have to take a very special talent. I think it's gonna be someone who you're least expecting that's gonna do it. In all honesty.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I think with her, like, again, we talked about her in the WWE auspices. Like, that is someone who is another one that I'm like, she's in NXT. And I'm like, how do you not do something with this girl? And then she signed as the virtuoso with Impact. And I'm like, this is her to her full potential right here.
Oh, it totally is. It's it's one of those things that it's going to change how things are done.
It is. And I will say this. If you guys have been not tuning into the Stevens Wrestling Journey, tuning into Turnbuckle Talk, tuning into just professional wrestling as a whole, it is a great time to reiterate that point. And what also is a great time is speaking with you, Crystal Spice. A couple final things before we close this out. It's always a pleasure and a privilege, and we'll definitely do this again. We'll also do a pop culture show that I promised you, man. We're going to do it up as we only can do. So, Crystal, I got to say, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege.
Oh, thank you. I love coming on. It's awesome to sit and chat wrestling with you or pop culture when we get to it. As long as you don't bring up any more Spice Girl stuff, we're good.
I got one thing to say before I have you promote the social media, though.
Oh, jeez.
Two become one.
Oh, God. I'm 1 in a million, you know.
Hey. 1 in a million. Okay. Well, first of all, that's a great segue. Miss Aaliyah's coming on the Spotify, man. Baby girl getting finally back on Spotify. How awesome is that? The late, great Aaliyah. I just saw that, and that popped me huge.
Yes, very excited about that.
Oh, my God. This one friggin' talk about 1 in a million. I would have upped you and said 2 in a million. I would have went all S Club 7 on your behind there, Miss Crystal Spice. Mm-hmm. Yep. Ah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know I love you. So before
I know. It's mutual.
Hey, thank you. Before we close this out, please promote the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Tickety Talk, the Heart TikTok, You Don't Stop, where we can see Steven's Wrestling Journey. Your links, links will be in the description on my SoundCloud ad. It'll also be on the YouTube front. Promote them. Go ahead, Crystal.
So awesome. So you can follow Steven on YouTube at Steven's Wrestling Journey. Stay tuned for things like Turnbuckle Talk, getting to know. He's got big episodes coming up with R-Truth, Chelsea Green, Matt Cardona, Beth Phoenix, more of Edge, to name a few. And we also have his Instagram is Steven's Wrestling Journey, and his backup is Steven's Wrestling Journey Team. And then he has Stevens Wrestling 1 on Twitter, and of course Stevens Wrestling Journey on Facebook. And during the month of September, he will be raising money for Stevens Hearts for Chiari by selling Be Yourself shirts. And all the proceeds will go to Sick Kids Hospital to the Chiari Research Fund that Steven is trying to open here in Toronto.
Beautifully said, and the links will be in the description. You also have to do me a favor. You mentioned Matt Cardona here, one of my absolute favorites. Can you ask Matt Cardona a question for me? You really need to do this one. All right. Ask him what it was like to be one of the hottest tag teams in NYWC, the New York Wrestling Connection. Please ask him that question for me because he is a mainstay. I got to tell you about this off air, but please ask him that question, Crystal.
I will see what we can do for you.
Thank you. So check out the interviews coming up. It's a lot of great content on the YouTube front. Steven is a very positive, it's a positive reassurance, a positive journey, and a positive feel every time with his interviews and him as an overall spirit and as an overall being. I love that little guy. Please tell him I said hello. And guys, before we close this out, Crystal Spice, I say this to a lot of amazing people, and I truly mean this as the work of art that women are. Beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Crystal Spice, my friend, I love you, and I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.